Buena YouTube. Yo, how is everyone doing today? Today we're gonna be talking a little about the Rockgrove build for NecroTanking as off-tank. We're gonna focus on base because for the first and the third boss, which is Oaks and Shalbaka, you can use whatever build you've been using for any other content. And base has some unique stuff that we need to change as a tank. So without anything else, let's start with the video. ¡Vámonos! Okay, let's start with the character. As you can see, the race, yes, I do recommend you to be North or Imperial, since those are better to tank. As you can see, this character is an Altmer, but that is because my tanks and my Magicka DPS are usually Altmers. This is not because they are better on any sense or anything at all. No, this is just because that's what I like, but a North or an Imperial is gonna be a better tank. About the attributes, I recommend you to have at least 36k of HP with food and without any buffs. Also remember to have a little more stamina than Magicka. Now, if you're gonna be using Powerful Assault as any other off tank, I recommend you to have a lot more stamina than Magicka, at least 25k stamina and the rest on Magicka. For the Mundus stone, we're using the Atronach for more Magicka recovery, and food we're using Bewitch Sugar Skulls. Now about the gear, it's gonna be all about the sets, and that's depending on your raid lead and what they tell you to use and your group comp. But for now, let's talk about traits. No matter what gear you're gonna be using, usually the off tank is gonna be using PA, which is Powerful Assault. That is why I recommend using on the cliffs, reduce stamp cost and reduce block cost. Usually I'm using 1 block cost and 2 reducing stamp cost. Now about the armor, on the large pieces I'm using Infused with Tri-Stat Glyphs. On our back bar I'm using a Staff with Infused Crusher. On the front part the traits are usually not gonna be an issue, but I like using Decisive and Sturdy, so you can change your ult faster. Now for the traits on Jewels, usually the people are using Infused to increase the effect of your enchantment. That is completely personal preference. Now me personally, if we are gonna be on a fight that you need to move a lot, I like to be using 1 Swift. I do not recommend it because they nerfed it and it's not that worth it anymore. Now back to the staffs, usually I'm gonna be using Inferno, so I can proc Encratis. If you're not using Encratis, I recommend you to be using an Ice Staff, so you can get the same resistances as if you were using Sword and Board. Now if you're using Ice Staff, remember to not be using the first passive of the Destruction skill line, because otherwise blocking is gonna cost you Magicka. Now for Base, which is the second boss, I'm gonna be using Infuse with Reduced Magicka cost. I'm only using 2 because with that many I'm comfortable, but you can use all 3. Now why are we using those glyphs? Because on Base you're gonna be getting a lot of dots on yourself, and the best way to counter that is gonna be using Mistform. Now as you can see on the skill, as long as you're gonna be on Mistform, you are not gonna get any Magicka recovery or stamina recovery. That way you're gonna be able to stay on Mistform as long as you need. Let's compare now. On the left side you're gonna see the Mistform with the full cost, and on the right side you're gonna see it with 2 of the glyphs of reduced Magicka cost. Now have in mind we're gonna be using CP, so we can reduce that cost even more. Now about your skills for the first and third boss, you guys can use whatever you're using on either trial. It's not gonna change much. But for the second boss, which is Base, we need to change a little the build so we can use Mistform. And I'm also gonna explain why I'm using Beckoning Armor instead of Balance. Starting we have Mistform. As we already said, we're gonna reduce all the damage that we get, which is gonna be really helpful with all the heavy attacks and all the bleeds that we get during the fight. Next we have Hungry Scythe, which is gonna be a burst healing, and it's gonna give you a HUD. This is gonna be your main source of healing. Next we have Pierce Armor. Now this is really important. Remember now, even if you range stunned with Inner Rage, you are gonna need to Pierce Armor for the big adds, such as the Abominations and the Behemoths, to apply Major Breach and Minor Breach. That's gonna increase penetration that they get for almost 9k. Now about Vigor, it doesn't matter the morph that you're gonna be using. You are mainly using it just to proc Powerful Assault. And of course it's gonna help you a little more with your heals. And Empowering Grasp. This is mainly a flex spot, but if you can use it, it's gonna be great, because that way you're gonna increase the group damage. On the back bar we have Silver Leash. That is mainly used to chain the archers. Up next we have Beckoning Armor, which is really important, and you might be wondering, why am I using Beckoning Armor and not Balance? Because Balance is gonna give you Magicka, and it's gonna give you Major Resolve as well. We're using it because of the passive Disdain Harm, which as you can see is gonna reduce your damage taken from dots by a 15% while you have a point tyrant ability active, such as Beckoning Armor. As you can see, a big part of this fight is gonna be the bleed from the Abominations and the dot that the Behemoth applies. As long as you're keeping it up, you're gonna see like you take no damage with Mistform. Next we have the range stunt, Inner Rage. And then we have Spirit Guardian, which is gonna decrease our damage and heal us. Last we have Blockade of Fire. This is mainly to proc Crusher and Encratis. Now the ultimate that we're gonna be using is gonna be Colossus, but you can also slot Temporal Guard from the Sigic skill line to get minor protection and reduce your damage. Now as you can see, these two skills, Beckoning Armor and Spirit Guardian, are my best recommendation to counter both the Bleed from the Abomination and the Dot from the Behemoth. These two skills plus Mistform, you're gonna feel like you're taking no damage at all. Now let's talk about the CP. As you can see from the blue tree, I'm using the base CP that any other tank is gonna be using, such as Duelist Rebuff, Enduring Resolve, Bulwark, and Unassailable. Now, the interesting, it is on the red CP, which we're using Boundless Vitality, Ironclad, and Slippery. Slippery, I'm using it because many times I've died on the third boss because I had a slow reaction breaking free, since we're gonna be tanking a lot of hats and getting a lot of damage at the same time. So Slippery is gonna be used as safety. And then we have Survival Instincts, which is gonna decrease by a 25% the cost of your Mistform as long as you're getting a Bleed from the Abomination or the Dot from the Behemoth. And that's gonna be it. Thank you so much for watching the video. If it was helpful to you, help me out, giving me a like, a sub, or a comment. Same old, if you have any questions, all of them are welcome. Let me know in the comments below, or on Discord, or on the stream. All the links are gonna be on the description. Thanks for joining me on another video, and I'll see everyone on the next one. Sounds good? Enjoy some real. ¡Vámonos!